welcome to ESV'S Panorama, your gateway to the latest trends and insights in Lagos and Nigeria's real estate space. Brought to you by the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. Join us as we explore innovative solutions, market trends, and expert opinions shaping the future of real estate. Stay informed, stay ahead. This is ESV'S Panorama.
Welcome to ESV Panorama, where we explore the latest trend and innovation in the real estate industry. Today, we're going to be discussing sustainability and green building. Okay, joining me in the studio today is ESV Habinuchi Owhandah. He is the country manager of CBRE Accelerates. He is an estate surveyor and valuer, and it's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you very much, ESV Isaac. Thanks for having me. And it's a pleasure to be here. And I want to thank Naives for hosting such an event and for also inviting me. Thank you.
Okay, like I mentioned previously, today we'll be talking about sustainability and green building. You know, there's this noise about green building out there, and we're just trying to find out what is green building. Is it some sort of building painted green, or what's green building?
Well, I think that's a good place to start the conversation. So green buildings, as defined by the Green Building Council of Nigeria, are buildings that are resource efficient, energy efficient, and that have incorporated sustainable features in through the design, construction, and the life cycle of the building. So that's what we call green building.
As concern for environment grows, we are seeing an increased demand for eco-friendly and energy-efficient properties. What drives this demand, and how can real estate professionals capitalize on this trend?
So thank you so much. I think the question is apt for the times that we're living in. And I think that before I begin to answer the question, I'd like to just go back a bit into history. So the conversations around greenhouse gas emissions have started for decades now. However, there was a significant turn of events which took place in 2015, where the Paris Agreement was reached by between over 190 countries. And this agreement basically is an agreement as it relates to climate change and the reduction of greenhouse gases. Now, this agreement, one of the key features in this agreement is to reduce the global temperature average to below 2 degrees centigrade. And that said, they also agreed to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Now, following that, over the couple of years at the UN Climate Conference, again in 2021, this was held in Glasgow. Our former President Muhammadu Buhari, agreed or committed Nigeria into the pact, stating that we would achieve net zero emissions by the year 2060. So that is, 10 years after the global target. However, that is the commitment that he had put forward there. So as for Nigeria, the clock has started ticking to achieve net zero carbon emissions by the year 2060. Now, it will be interesting to also note that building construction and properties contribute 40% of carbon emissions into the climate. So that is why it's really important that we're having these conversations right now. And it's as real estate professionals, we play a very vital and significant role to impacting or making a difference in this space. Now, that said, to your question, you asked what are the drivers and what is influencing this demand? Yeah. I think one of the factors that is influencing this demand is the environmental awareness. So people are becoming a bit more aware of the impact of buildings and properties which they occupy on the environment. So these are awareness and the need to want to preserve the climate for our future generations is driving this. So people are wanting to now go into more energy efficient buildings so that the buildings will reduce carbon emissions basically. And we've all heard the issue of climate change. Previously, we thought it was a myth, but we have seen increased flooding. We have seen storms in Nigeria, and these are all the fallout of climate change. So the environmental awareness is a key factor that is driving this consumption and the like.
Yeah.
Now, when you occupy green buildings, or cost efficiencies.
Yeah.
Now, you have increased costs from occupation through the utility cost, energy consumption, water consumption, and the like.
Yeah.
Now, when you occupy green buildings, there is significant savings to be achieved from occupying greener buildings when compared to occupying conventional buildings.
Okay.
So occupiers are becoming more aware of this because they have seen this and they know it's no longer a myth, that they are able to achieve significant savings on their energy costs.
Yeah.
So that awareness is also driving the demand for such buildings, for green buildings, for sustainable buildings,
yeah,
and all. And then technological advancement has also played an important role. So you hear things like smart buildings, you hear things like building management systems. People want to stay and see these different features beginning to be incorporated within the buildings that they occupy. They want to be able to control the temperature within their spaces, and they want to be able to be more efficient in their spaces. So they want to incorporate technology into their spaces. And I think the final point that I'll touch on in terms of the driver is the health and wellness benefits.
Wow.
So statistics has shown that occupiers of green buildings are more productive and live healthier lives.
Amazing.
Because of, we work Mondays to Fridays,
yeah,
and we spend 8 to 10 hours in the office for those of us that work that way. And so if you spend a significant amount of your time within your workspace, it beholds on the environment to be more accommodating and friendly. So what happens within that environment impacts your health, your productivity, and your well-being. So with that awareness as well, people are moving more towards the greener buildings as compared to the conventional buildings.
Amazing.
Yes. And finally, to the second part of your question, which is what can real estate professionals do to capitalize on this trend? So I think one of the ways that as real estate professionals we can play a vital role in this space is one in the area of advisory.
Oh, great.
So we have requests coming in from our clients, whether it's global corporates or indigenous organizations or even individuals. So when these requests come in to either acquire a property, be it outright purchase or through a lease, we should be able to stay and guide them towards the greener buildings for a couple of reasons that I'll just mention. One, if it's in terms of acquisition, they are able to preserve the value of their building if those buildings are greener, because the world is moving more towards the green building. So greener buildings, you're able to attract better funding, you're able to attract better occupiers within your space. And then if it's from a perspective of the occupiers, those who will want to occupy those spaces, when your client occupies a greener building, you're sure that their operational cost is kept to the barest minimum and all that. So we're able to influence, or we're able to support them in reducing their cost of occupation. So from the advisory space, we can play in that in there. And also from the facilities management perspective, for those of us who are facilities managers.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, something that I'd like to note here is that by the year 2060, about 50% of the buildings that we have already constructed will be around then by the year 2060. And so what then do we do? How then can we impact this change if 50% of the buildings that we have will be in existence in 2050? So it means that we would need to retrofit the existing building to catch up with sustainable features. And so that would mean incorporating all these additional features in there. And now, to be able to do this, you need data. Data is important to be able to know what you want to achieve. You want to know what your consumption pattern is. You want to be able to measure your progress. So you need to begin to introduce data capturing components like meters into the properties that you're managing, and so that you're better able to advise your clients to be able to influence the right kind of change. Whether you want to right size your generators, so maybe your generators are oversized for this type of building that you're occupying, you with the right kind of data to measure the consumption, and then you weigh that against the capacity of the generators, you're able to take an informed decision, be it lighting, water consumption, waste disposal. Having accurate data on these various metrics will be able to stay and enable you impact that space. I think I'll leave it there for now, but I think there's a lot more to say and then speak to on that question. Thank you.
That's profound. It's so encompassing. Thank you so much for that valuable thoughts just shared with us. So you've spoken a lot around the economic benefits of green building. You've also journeyed us through the economic value, the advantage of green building to the society at large, the role professionals need to play. So I just want us to drive it home, and you've given us a lot of statistics around the numbers of green buildings we have in Nigeria and what we should be expecting in years to come. So can you give us some examples of green buildings we have currently in Nigeria, and how has those green building impacts the whole ecosystem generally?
Fantastic. So because of the broadness of the question, I would restrict myself to two accredited certifications that exist globally. And then also I would restrict myself to commercial office spaces because there are a number of these buildings out there. Now with regards to the accredited certifications, we have the LEED certification, and then we also have the EDGE certification. And these are all globally recognized certifications that buildings abide by. Now, in the case of Nigeria, we have the Nest Oil building. The Nest Oil building is LEED certified. I think that was one of the first buildings to attain that status. That was achieved in 2016. And then we have the Heritage Place that achieved this LEED certification in 2018. We have other buildings like the Skyview Tower in Ikoyi. We have number 4, Bodilon as well in Ikoyi. And then when you go over to the EDGE certification, the EDGE certified buildings, you have the new standard Stanbic Tower in Victoria Island as well that has achieved its EDGE certification. You have the Alliance Place, you have the Alpha One. These various properties have achieved these accredited certifications, be it LEED or EDGE certifications at various standards. Now, in terms of the benefits of having these buildings within our ecosystem, I think it varies, and we may not have data to stay and prove some of it, but I would just reel out a few of them. I think the first one is putting Nigeria. It puts Nigeria on the map. It puts us on the landscape that we have such buildings within our offering to be able to attract global corporates that are seeking to domicile their organizations in Nigeria. Because there are times when these global players want to enter into the market, be in Africa, they would look through various countries, they will look through various hubs to find where they can find suitable accommodation that speaks to their standards. And having these kind of buildings have successfully been able to attract some of the big players, the likes of Microsoft, the likes of Google, into our space. I mean, you have MasterCard, Visa, they all occupy these green buildings. And so by way of attracting global corporates, also and that puts us on the map. That also creates jobs. Once these organizations come into the country, they would employ people to stay and work within those organizations. So that creates white-collar jobs for our citizens, for Nigerians. So that there is a benefit. Then another benefit is during the construction of these buildings, because of the demand, because more people begin to demand for these buildings, because the demand begins to increase, you would find that the developers begin to then also play in this space. So then you have investors. Investors will be able to attract the right kind of capital to be able to develop more green buildings. And so that impacts our foreign direct investment. And so as the construction also increases, then you also find out that the jobs are created for those within the construction space. And then finally, I think with having these kind of buildings, the negative impact on the environment is reduced as compared to having conventional buildings, as I'll speak to a bit in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was so impactful. Thank you for sharing this knowledge with us today. And just to wrap it up, a bonus question. You've spoken in regards to commercial buildings.
Yes.
And, I also think that this popular hospital in Lecture Phase 1 is also H certified. What's the name again? The hospital.
Yes, on Admiralty Phase 1.
Yes, is H certified. So just a bonus question. In terms of property valuation.
Yes.
Right. When you compare green buildings to conventional building, what is the value proposition like, from your experience? If a conventional building is put side by side with a green building, right? What is the value proposition like?
Yeah, so I think going back to the benefits of occupying green buildings as compared to conventional buildings, and given that we have a lot of green funds, green bonds, investors would rather invest in greener buildings because from either a financial reporting perspective and because of commitments that they have made in their organizations to constructing or to playing more within the sustainability space. We have people are moving away from just constructing the regular or the conventional buildings. So that said, when we now go back to the issue of occupational costs, when you occupy the green buildings, you find that because of the reduced cost of occupation, you're able to attract more tenants into that space. So that increases the demand. And so for that reason, investors or developers are able to charge a premium for those features that they have included into the building to be able to achieve those efficiencies, the likes of solar panels, the likes of LED lightings when compared to the regular lights, and also for whatever features, sustainability features that they incorporate into that space. We're able to find that they can attract, or those buildings attract, 5 to 10% more in terms of value than conventional buildings, because there are significant energy savings that occupiers are able to stay and achieve from occupying these buildings. So,
thank you so much, ESV Habinuchi, for sharing your insights on sustainability and green building. And so much we've learned from you today. And we really do hope that our viewers, real estate professionals, estate surveyors and valuers, real estate developers, we go out there to develop more greener buildings and to have more energy efficient building. Thank you so much. See you next time on ESV Panorama.